Hello there, divine loving greetings. It's me, Alura. Welcome back to Spiritually Awkward. Well, hello there, and divine loving greetings, many blessings, and welcome back. So let's get started. You know, I have a terrible tendency to just kind of ramble on and on and on, and I go off into so many different subjects that people, you know, they love listening, but they're like, man, will she just get to the point? I'm so sorry, everybody. I love talking to you all so much and just expressing myself, my views, and the things I've learned. So thank you for being patient with me and for accommodating me by listening all those other times. So today we're going into this new video, and I'm just really happy. You know, I really feel good. The last video, I really got to let a lot of things off of my chest, and that, whew, it feels really good because I'm always so humble and so loving, and I never defend myself or stick up for myself in any way, and I just felt that it was time. I really did. So now that we got that out of the way, let's go into some of the good material that I've had planned for you all for some time. You know, things were busy. I had the baby, and just she has been the greatest joy of my life, keeping me going, keeping me busy. I don't have a lot of personal people in my life. If you watch my testimonial video here on YouTube, you know, my life is very secluded. And so the people that I do have on this path with me, you know, those are people that have really made a lot of effort, and I've made equal effort back because they've touched me in some ways so deep that, you know, it made me think, you know, I'm never going to find anybody that loves me this much or shows that they care, and they show that they care by accommodating my special needs. And with that, I tried to do a lot of things for them, and I do sacrifice a lot too, because, you know, it can't be all about me. But they really have gone above and beyond, and just with the new baby, and with Amber and Noah and Bella and Amelia, my family, I just am so blessed, you know, to have everyone. But it has kept me busy, that alongside of all the many projects that I have, the blogs especially. I'm still trying to get some of the material I never posted to get published. You know, people don't realize that I may charge for my services. Yeah, I need to survive. I really do. And with charging, it gives me the time allowance every day to work with different people. There's so many people that demand my attention, hundreds of emails, all kinds of inquiries, people that are writing in with questions about these videos, about the blogs themselves, about their readings. And to be honest with you, to get another job, like, it just really wouldn't suit me. I wouldn't have enough time to give that time and attention to those other people, and nobody would have the answers, you know, that they're longing for, where they seek. So yeah, I have to charge for my services, just so that I can be around, and, you know, it puts food on the table, and that's a blessing. But other than that, you know, it's not about the money. It never was. And a lot of people will monetize their blogs, and they'll get paid for them. I don't really know how to do that, never did. And the blogs that I have, I actually pay out of pocket for. It's true. I have to pay $30 per blog each month for the domains, and then I have to pay like a $39 fee each blog every month to keep that platform on the platform that I'm using. So it gets expensive, but it's worth it if all of you are learning out there. And with that, it takes me back to one of my very first blogs, because that's going to lead us into the subject of this video. So if you remember, if you're familiar with some of my older teachings, for those of you who've been around that long, I used to have a blog called, well, it was called a couple of different things, but the last thing that it was called was The World of Soul Types, and that was at www.aluracein.blogspot.com. And there were just tons of articles. They were just me just writing away like a diary. And in that, I did cover one particular subject very, very subtly about near-death experiences. And I remembered I had said that as incarnated angels, we would have a lot of near-death experiences. I've had a lot of them. When I was 4 years old, I actually, well, 2 years old was the first time. I don't remember that one as clearly to detail it to you, but my mother told me that I had a fever that the doctors had no idea of its origin, and so I was hospitalized, got dehydrated, and they could not get me hydrated well enough that I started to kind of wither away. That's not so much as near death, but the next time was around the age of 4. I was in a similar situation, fever of unknown origin, and I came to find out that that origin was that something here on earth, because of my rare blood type, was making me very sick, especially in regards to the ocean water. And that's where I was when I was 4 years old. We went to the beach and we were just having a good time. I got back, fever of an unknown origin came, and I was hospitalized again, on my deathbed at 4 years old. So already that had happened twice, both times having come from the beach, but nobody was, putting it together. So I don't really spend a lot of time at the beach. The sun really hurts me anyway. But yeah, I remember laying there and I just kept seeing the white light that I saw so many times, channeling the heavens as a little girl. I wasn't afraid. I recognized it, and I embraced it. But every single one of those 2 times, I was sent back. So going onward, things got a little bit more complicated, a little bit more near death, because when I was about, I'm going to say 16 years old, I have very sensitive lungs. My lungs and my oxygen levels my iron levels, all it's so freaky, man. But with this blood type, makes it hard for me to process oxygen like other people. I have some kind of weird iron allergy I can't explain. But at that time, my lungs were really weak and nobody knew why. I kept getting respiratory infections and bronchitis every single year. And I remembered I couldn't breathe in my chest, and all of a sudden I had blood coming out of my nose, and I had gotten up off the sofa because even then I never really slept, just maybe catnapped a little and jumped back up. But that particular morning, my father left for work. Mom was there. She was doing her makeup, and I had this horrible time breathing, and it felt like my lung was going to pop like a balloon, and I was very shallow in my breath. And then when I touched my nose and I saw the blood, I just went in. I said, "Mom, I think I'm dying." But my mom, seeing that I was standing there talking, she didn't understand what was going on, and the blood under my nose, she thought maybe it was just a nosebleed. So she told me, "Just go ahead, go lay down again." So I laid down, and I just remember that it kept going in and out. It was always like I would see the living room, and then it would fade out into a really bright white light, and then the living room again, and then the white light. And it was off and on like that for just a couple minutes, and then it was all bright white light. And I could hear my brother, like it sounded like he was so far away, sort of like how spirit is at first when you communicate. As I'm traveling through that white light, I could hear my brother somewhere talking to my mother. My brother was a paramedic and an EMT. He had just gotten up, I suppose, and came downstairs from his room to see me in that condition. And he was telling my mother, "She's in respiratory distress. She's going to go into cardiac arrest. We have to get her to the hospital." But my mom's like, "I'm not fully dressed yet. I still have to, pull myself together. I don't know what's happening or how it's happened or what's going on." And my brother was just so worried, that he kept trying to convince her, like, "Forget about getting dressed, forget about your makeup, let's go, your daughter is on the brink of death." So after that, I don't remember anything. I just remember the white light. I know now, after talking to my family, that my brother just scooped me up himself and threw me in a car and sped straight to the hospital. Didn't want to waste time waiting for an ambulance to come, and he took me. And when I did come to, I was on breathing support at the hospital. But In the process, I was in the white light, traveling down this tunnel of just bright, bright white light. And there was somebody at the end of that tunnel, and I recognized that energy. This was the creator that I had talked to so many times before here, that I'd met so many times before out there. And I wanted to go closer, and I wanted him to bring me in. But he struck my heart in that moment with feelings of unfinished business. And I had said to him, please, just, if you're going to send me back, and I'll do whatever you need me to do. As far as my mission, I promise you. And that's because I had visions very, very quickly traveling through the white light of my daughter Amber that I had not had yet. And I didn't want to miss out on that. So he sent me back, and thus I woke up there in the hospital and breathing support. Now, that happened again at the age of 19 years old. Just my lung kept collapsing. It was a weak lung. My mom said it was always like that since I was a little girl. And that's why I was prone to these infections throughout my life. But that happened again, same scenario, just, traveling down that bright tunnel of white light. Now, the other time that I had a near-death experience was when I was 22 years old. I was working in the inner city. I had been going to college, and I was just starting to work in the field of psychology, but I had chose addictions. And the reason why I chose that was because my daughter's father, was addicted to drugs for a very long time. In fact, a lot of the people that we grew up with were, and it killed me. It killed me to see them throw their lives away. When we were younger, I always predicted which ones were going to die earlier, which ones were going to be in jail later, before they even got bad, and I would tell them to try to help them to prevent that. But they just thought I was weird. But I had to do something, and I figured, well, I have a divine mission to use my angelic abilities as an oracle, but I also have a mission to help these other people in a way that is separate from spirituality, or to somehow combine them. I was still, kind of figuring things through. I knew I had to do my work as an oracle for sure, to teach and to lead, but I was led to the psychological aspect of things. I'm still a little bit unclear. Sometimes the heavens they don't give me all the answers for me, because they want me to figure things out, and they test me, to come up with the right answer and the right path. So by that time, I decided to take addictions. I knew that in my heart I had to help because of all of the suffering that I had seen in these people. And I got the job working at a clinic that was hosting, care for people that couldn't afford it. And being out there, there were a lot of different characters of people out there. It wasn't a safe environment for anybody to work in. We had to get off of a train, walk downtown to get to the building. And there were all kinds of individuals out there, criminals, homeless, and so on and so forth. And I just remembered every time I'd walk, I'd always have men calling out at me. And it was just, really, really bad. It was uncomfortable, but I had no other transportation. So the one day I got out of work, it was dark. This was coming into the winter months because the days were shorter. And I remembered walking towards that train, and I didn't make it. I was dragged behind a building and hid, and then I was raped, and I was left there. And I remembered being in this dark tunnel looking for that light and not understanding where the light was or why it wasn't appearing to me. And I suddenly realized, well, this is because it was a dark act. It was evil and wickedness that was responsible for me being in this state. And I had known that because I'd channeled, so many people before in the past that had died tragically, through similar circumstances or worse. So I thought to myself, no, I don't want to be a soul that, dies this way. I don't want to be traveling into the afterlife through this darkness, and the darkness being imposed upon me by somebody else. And I felt robbed, you know? So after that, I fought, and I kept listening for any voices or sounds, and I heard a familiar voice very distantly, and it kept calling me back. I kept hearing, Allie, 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 and I just followed that voice all the way back. And when I opened my eyes, the person told me that I didn't even have like any pupil or blue in my eye. They said that my eyes were completely gray, like light gray, and they were having to administer CPR and all that because the person had done some horrific things to me in those moments. And it's upsetting to talk about, but you know what? Everything is a lesson, and we are all a victim of a victim in some way. So I forgive that person with all my heart. I'm glad I didn't die there, that's for sure. But yeah, that was a scary situation. And even though I had channeled a lot of souls that died in dark circumstances that were imposed upon them or that they had caused themselves, seeing it directly from that standpoint was very scary. So near-death experiences have littered my pathway in life, and I've been through a lot of things as an innocent individual, as a pure person. I've had a lot of evil and a lot of wicked things directed towards me, but that's the world, and I know there's good out there, and I'm seeking for it, just like many of you are seeking for knowledge and truth and goodness in the light. I'm seeking goodness in the light that all of you carry, you know? So the other remaining part of this video, because I try to keep them under half an hour, is the fact that a lot of people live, but they don't realize that they're dead. They really don't. They do not realize that they are dead. And many people say, well, what does she mean by that? Well, the spiritual death is a very real thing. It really is. If you go back into one of my older videos, I had said a soul is a light. It's an energy, a flame. And it's like a candle flame being blown about in the wind. It can only be blown at so many times before it goes out, you know. And if you go back to my video in Dark Consciousness, I mentioned that people's flames, so to speak, are being blown at and blown at and blown at through all of the horrible things that are happening to them in their lives, the struggles, trying to survive, having been hurt or disappointed by people so many times. And so they end up through all of that, and additionally the losses, also trying to come back from their own mistakes, or the mistakes that have been imposed upon them by others like myself, and which happened to me. They numb themselves inside. And once that starts to happen, it's very hard to come back from that. That's trauma. And a lot of people are traumatized, let's face it. Majority of the population is traumatized in some way. That's what I've seen. I channel into the Akashic Records. I channel into, you know, thousands of people a year, and they all have trauma. So the spiritual death is mentioned in the Bible, and this is where, you know, you are going through this awakening process, and you're like, wow, I can't believe, you know, I found myself, I found the light, I found a purpose or reason to keep going, I found truth. And then all of a sudden, in that process, you start to feel sad. You're looking at the world around you, you're overanalyzing it now because you're more awake, you're more aware. And then all of these other limitations and struggles and tribulations are imposed upon you additionally. And all that you see is the negative. You look back in the past, like, oh, I transcended that. You know, through my spiritual journey, I was helped in transcending that, healed from that, helped with my karma, my lessons. But the memory still remains, and looking back at that, and it will come up, you know, especially during new traumatic situations, old ones are going to come up too. It's like an argument between a couple. You start arguing about what's going on now, but then all of a sudden the couple starts stupidly fighting about stuff that happened like a year ago, 2 years ago, and so on. It's pointless, but it happens. And when you are going through another hard time, all of the hard times that you've been through are going to pile up on you, and they're going to drag you down. Yeah. And a person can only take so much. You look around the world, and with the propaganda and the agenda working to turn off people's feelings and emotions and empathy, to desensitize them. As I said in the last three videos that I've made, it's hard to feel. People thought they found something meaningful in their lives, and come to find out, they found awakening, they found more awareness, and in that full awareness that they found that the world is hurtful and harmful, and people are suffering everywhere. It's not that happy-go-lucky, everybody's ascending, Earth is going into 5D. That's a bunch of mumbo-jumbo, because it's not. Look around you. For those of you that really want to be fully awakened, because being awake and being fully awake are two different things, but for those of you that want to become fully awake, you have to first awaken somewhat to understand that this world is not ascending, it's descending. And that's why we have so much symbolism surrounding the 5-pointed star in reverse, because upright, that 5-pointed star represents the 5 elements of man. It's Vitruvius Man, and just another symbol. But when you flip it upside down in the inverted pentagram, a lot of people always thought that was just the head of Baphomet, and it's not. It represents the fall of mankind. And then you have the circle going around the elements of the star pointing downward to suggest falling elements, falling complete man, and the circle represents an infinite cycle of it. So mankind is being led through an infinite cycle of being held back and descending more and more and more. Not descending in their consciousness or their wisdom, because they are getting a little bit leveled up, every new age that comes for the new way and the new order, but they're descending in their morals. It's true. And then that takes them to the beast, which is the head of Baphomet. It's the beast. They are subjected to the beast, which is the system, the machine, and they're subjected to the beast within, the instinctive person. So once those instincts start acting up, they're desensitized, demoralized, doing whatever they want, not caring about anybody else. And the people that do care, they're looking around, they're seeing that, and it's hurting them. So they end up coming to this place where they can't feel anymore, and they lose their way, and they lose their hope, and they feel like they can't go on anymore. But that is the spiritual death. For people that have not awakened but just go right at it, following the trends, doing whatever pleases them physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, and living as if there's no tomorrow, they're already somewhat dead inside, because they're already taking part in things that take away from the emotions and the sensitivity and the empathy. They only care about themselves and pleasuring themselves, getting somewhere for themselves. You look and you see the population, they're willing to do anything, and they will stop and video record you in your worst hour instead of giving you a helping hand, even if it's a near-death situation. But even the people that have awoken somewhat spiritually, they're dying inside. They're going through the spiritual death, because the awakening was a test. It was a test to see who were the real chosen out there. And when they were found, squash them right now. Just get rid of them. Get rid of the meek that are going to inherit the earth. And I wrote about this in an article in my blog. And I was talking about, in the Angelic Herald, Archangel Gabriel had said, how do you find out the criminals that are hiding? You make them think that the crime is okay, and then they start to come out and commit the crimes. Now a person doesn't just think about things if it's not a part of who they are. Of course, thoughts travel, and you may get hit with thoughts that aren't your own sometimes, but if you have things on your mind that you have an urge to do, you just don't do them because you think they're wrong to do, then that means that that's part of your person. But with that, you weed the criminals out, so to speak, and then you start to find out who are the real people that really want goodness, who are trying, who really want a better world. And through that process, they already have all these other people who don't care. They're living how they want to and how the powers that be want them to. But the chosen, the meek, they have something has to be done with them. So they take away their hope. They promise them all these spiritual things. They rip that hope away. And looking at how many times that soul has been battered, through all the trials and tribulations of their lives, the tribulations they still face, the trauma, the heartache, the pain, that spirituality sticks with them in the mind. They carry what they've learned, but their heart becomes numb. And once that starts to happen, you don't come back from that. It's true. A lot of people that have been just beat down in life, whether they beat themselves down or were beat down by others, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's hard to rebuild from that. I don't want to say it's impossible. You can resurrect. There is a chance for that resurrection. But it does take a lot of hard work, devotion, and self-investment that I fear many people aren't willing to go through. I always say now, because a lot of my students, they say, man, your teachings, they blew my mind, but they made me look at life differently now. And I'm saying, well, with more wisdom comes more sorrow, because it does. The more you know, the more you know. It just takes you somewhere else in insight and seeing what people are about, not judging them, but seeing the facts. And a lot of people just couldn't take the pain anymore. And that's what was supposed to happen, to take away that spiritual rebirth that you just had and to just make you spiritually numb and spiritually dead inside, and then to get you back on board with the beasts within yourself, the beasts of the system. And that is how it works. There's so much more that goes into this. Like, if you're spiritually dead inside and you don't get a good person to help you, a good teacher, a good master to help you to work through that again, it's not going to go away. You might have a couple happy moments, but nothing's going to make you happy in life. You're going to feel like everything's a disappointment. You're not going to trust any person that comes near you ever. You're going to feel like everything is just a waste of time, that people are a waste of time. And then you're going to start to feel so isolated that you don't know, where you really fit in or belong anymore. And that's where a lot of people are coming into these feelings of feeling suicidal, which is no good. It's not a reset button. Suicide just puts you right back to where you were before when you come back. It doesn't skip all the karma and the bad stuff and jump you ahead to all the good stuff. It doesn't. You're just basically coming back into all the junk that you're trying to escape from. So what's the point of doing it anyway? Work through yourself now. Live a happy life now. I'm here to help. I want to help those people that are spiritually dead to find some way to become alive. But again, it's hard work. A lot of people don't realize how much work goes into awakening, ascension, enlightenment, and trying to resurrect themselves from having lost this feeling in their soul. But that's what's happening, and it's happening worldwide, and it's a part of the plan. It's a part of the plan during this day and age, this time in this world. And there will be a time when those who are chosen will get a chance to have that door open to them one more time to say, hey, look, I'm here, it's your last call. But we're getting very close to that, and I fear that a lot of people are going to miss it because they're getting trapped in the illusions of the world instead, and they would rather believe the lies because it feels better. It feels better to tell themselves those lies instead and to indulge so they can feel something, anything. But you don't want to stay that way. Once you die spiritually inside, you don't come back from it. You have to work hard, and you have to have somebody help you, guide you back into the rebirth cycle again, next level wisdom, and find a way to find hope and to rebuild and to not give up, just to keep moving forward. If you feel as though you're becoming spiritually dead, talk to me. I'm here for you. I understand a number of different things people go through. I hear everything. I've heard everything. I've seen everything. And I can help you find solutions, but those solutions, you can't say, hey, Alura, this solution that you gave me isn't going to work, so I'm not going to do it. It's all your fault. Now my life is worse. You can't do that. You have to actually try, I've had people try to blame me for things going wrong in their life, but they hadn't even tried. They maybe tried a little bit, maybe for a little while, and then and that was it, and they got to keep pushing on. But if you feel that you're becoming spiritually dead inside, we need to talk about that. You need to find help. You don't want to lose your soul. You don't want your soul to belong to this world either, and be a part of the beast of just instinctive living with a little bit more knowledge and wisdom attached to it. There's so many things I have to tell you. I want to talk about the magician. There's so much to go into. I don't want to spoil some of the future videos coming up, but near-death experiences, you'll know, like if you have a near-death experience and you are clouded in darkness while you're in them, everybody goes through a dark tunnel first, and then you come to the light. You travel right into that light, unless you're totally innocent and pure. Then you'll just see total white light. But not many people are 100% innocent and pure. But as you go through that tunnel, you'll go into the light, and then you'll be guided through your life review and with your spirit guides and so on and so forth about, the next portion of where you're going to head off to in the afterlife from there. But if you're engulfed in that darkness and you don't get to that light, that means that you've either lost your soul or you became spiritually dead. And we don't want you to stay in that state. We want you to feel alive and reborn and be a part of this beautiful light, to find balance and harmony in your elements, and to live and enjoy, but at the same time to do it smart, and to be the master builder of your own life, and to live a dream that's realistic, but a dream nonetheless. But you can tell through your near-death experiences where you're pretty much at in regards to your afterlife experience. If you stay in the dark, you got to question it when you come back. Like, wait a minute, why was I just in the dark? I didn't see any light. Something's going on here. Was I, in a traumatic experience? Or did I lose my soul? Was I becoming spiritually dead enough that, I couldn't head towards light? But if you're in the light, then once you get through that dark tunnel and you see that light, you know that you're good. You know that you're good. But you can't walk around spiritually dead here, because it's just going to feel like a weight on your shoulders. You're not going to find happiness in anything, not even the people that you love. No trust, nothing. There's going to be nothing. Now, I always say I don't trust anybody. You can't. You can't. But that is on a complete level. You can't trust anybody on a complete level. You can trust people for certain things. So, like my daughter Amber, I trust her with a lot of things, and there are some things I don't. With my mom, I trust her with certain things, but not with everything either. You have to differentiate who you can trust. That's a future video too. But listen, work through your spiritual process. Look for the signs of becoming spiritually dead inside. This is a part of the end times agenda, and it's something that you're going to want to combat and fight against. And if you're walking around feeling like you're dead all the time, like you're living the same day in and day out, like your emotions are running numb, like nothing makes you happy, and everything in the world just, seems fake and dragged out, and you'd rather just isolate and, not feel it all, then there's something very deep going on there. Some people hit that marker in the process of their awakening and their ascension because they have to get used to the new vibration of not really belonging here anymore, consciously, through their soul, through their light, their consciousness. But that should subside, and if it doesn't, there's something else very deeply rooted going on there that we need to discuss. Are you feeling this way? If so, come talk to me. Let's work through it and get you back on track. Be amongst those who are called again. I love you all so much with all my heart and soul. God bless you.